Welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Frame by Frame. It is February 5th, 2026. I'm happy to be here, and let me know if you can hear me, if everything sounds good. We are testing out the in-community live stream option just to see how it goes and potentially simplify a couple things on my end. But welcome. Yeah. Thomas, understand. Yeah, no, I do a quick dress rehearsal and run over here really quick. Dress change up in the treehouse, and yeah, I'm in the treehouse studio, Thomas. Uh, um, but I hope you're all having a great week, and I'm excited to get right into it. If you are on the platform right now, I'm thinking that you should probably see like me going live. I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to test this out is um that I think that it'll draw more people into the live streams together. So, anyways, today we are going over last week's stairs challenge. I don't really have any other updates for you except that thank you for anyone who's been following along with my 30-day Photo Dash Shorts challenge over on the Photo Dash YouTube channel or on Instagram. It's been great. I filmed my very last one yesterday, and it was actually surprisingly fun. It was like working out that photography muscle. It's a lot different than going out on like a casual, just no time limit photo walk or photo excursion, which I think is easier and better for getting better photos. But the Photo Dash Shorts has been a fun way just to get out there in new spots and try photography out myself. So thank you to everyone who's been watching those. Hello, Barbara, Celeste, Colette in the live stream. Let me know if you are tuning in live. If this is your first frame by frame, let me know. So I'm going to bring up the stairs challenge. Lots of wonderful photos being submitted there. And I even got one in from one of my very own Photo Dash Shorts for stairs that I posted at the bottom. I'm going to follow what I did last week a bit, where for each photo, I'm going to give 2 things I like about it and then 1 or 2 things that I might improve about it. And we're just going to go for there. And everyone who is watching live, please share your comments too. If you haven't done so on the individual posts, it would be great for everyone to get even more thoughts and feedback from everyone. That's what we're here to do in the Photo Friends community. So, without further ado, hi Maria. Hello. Hi Suzanne. Let's get a little bit more caffeinated, and now let's go. All right. Jeffrey posted this photo of stairs. Looks like doing some construction outside of an old building. 2 things I like about it. I like that I actually don't mind the angle. It kind of makes me feel a little off having this like slanted angle in the photo, and I think we're going to get a lot of that with this challenge. I don't mind that, and I think that was actually an interesting perspective rather than trying to straighten out the top of that building. I like the balance of cool to warmth tone. It's got that really classic teal versus blue filter or style. I think my one piece of advice would be that the edit and the colors look a little over edited. It looks a little unnatural, especially that sky looks pretty teal. So I would probably back down the saturation on that, but still have like a warm to teal or warm to blue kind of tone, duotone on it. Um, and yeah, I think it might have been interesting, a little more interesting to see more of this. Like, I think you could have widened it out just a little bit to get the top of the, gosh, what is that called? Scaffolding on the outside of the building and see like the whole sky over it. But otherwise, you could have even just tilted up or something. But thank you for sharing your photo. All right. Oh, here's a question that I did not get to. Thank you, Caesar. Thank you, everyone, for being so helpful in the community. Like, I rarely have to answer questions because you are all on top of it. Um, so next photo, Haifa Mohammed. Let's open this photo up. Ooh, lovely, lovely tones here. I love sort of the flat look here. Um, and the perspective of being down at the bottom of the staircase is nice to look up at this tower. So we got these nice leading lines. So the two things I really like are that super flat, sort of uncontrasty look for this photo. I think we're going to see a lot of shadows and contrast in a lot of photos, but this is nice. And then the leading lines that you get leading up to some sort of subject or thing beyond just the stairs being the one thing in the photo. I think my piece of advice would be I think you could highlight the or use those leading lines in a little bit stronger of a way if your camera was closer to the stairs and you really saw like these lines of the railing and the wall and the left and right side of the stairs kind of like really going on both sides of the frame leading to this tower basically. um or changing up the composition because this wall over here is like kind of uninteresting and to me anyways and blocking what looks like is a really the round tower here. So scooching over to the side or something. Although I know it looks like you wanted that sort of symmetrical look going up the stairs. Um, but yeah, and then maybe just a tiny, tiny, tiny little thing, but like the stair at the bottom, which your eye is immediately drawn to, is like this set of stairs at the bottom. Make sure those are perfectly level. All right. Thank you so much for posting. All right, next we got David's photo here. David, I feel like I have seen this photo before. I don't know if you posted it to another challenge or not, but while I love the perspective looking down this beautiful staircase and just like it's like that Fibonacci circle or whatever that overlay is that is like a naturally aesthetically pleasing compositional style. It's very nice composition, and I think just everything, colors and the focus being a deep focus, having everything in focus is really difficult in this kind of photo. So great job there. I'm trying to think what my advice would be on this photo. It's so good. Um, I think the only thing that could have changed is like a different moment where there were even more people climbing up the stairs, like on every level, because the background of this beautiful staircase is awesome, but I also really love seeing the people and especially on this one level where they are. So having more people on each level or just waiting for some interesting moment, whether that's a kid holding their parent's hand walking up the stairs or just who knows what the moment could be. Maybe there is a moment where someone is taking a break, leaning over, looking down the staircase. Just something could have happened that might have made this more interesting, but otherwise it's a nicely composed image. Thank you, as always, David, for posting and sharing and your support. David does an amazing job, along with Maria and Very, helping to moderate the space and the community. So I really appreciate that. All right. Speaking of contrast, low contrast to high contrast. This is Wanya Westerbeck. Really cool style right here. It's and the editing is very nice. Two things I really like about it is the lighting and contrast, the silhouetting of this person, very nice. And you also did not crush the blacks too much, where you can still see a little bit of the staircase. Love that. Love seeing just that subtle hint of exposure in the shadows of the staircase. So you can still see it. Without it, then it would be hard to put this in a stairs challenge. So I like that edit. And another thing I love, love, love is the flat lines, straight lines across the frame, especially this, even this bottom stair right there. You can tell it's like perfectly parallel to the bottom of the frame, which is very nice. Which means that a couple of these other lines aren't perfectly level, but I think these were the right lines to level out. And in terms of critique, I might have played with increasing the exposure a little bit, even though I said I like the contrast. Like, I like the silhouetting of the person for sure. The background, the sky is a nice exposure. Um, Maybe it's a little dark in the bottom right, but also, I don't know. I feel like the railing over here might not be that interesting if it was exposed. Maybe if you had like, I actually don't mind the composition of like seeing these street lights on the left and the right and this pole going up here, but maybe there was like a slight crop in from the right or a shift of the angle just a little bit to get, I think removing this pole right here and this one might have looked cleaner, although I don't know. I kind of I like it too. So I don't have a lot of critique for this photo. So really, Wanya, very, very good job. All right, Annie. First challenge. Awesome. Welcome to the weekly challenges. Okay, let's caffeinate for a second. How's everyone doing? Is this much different at all for you in terms of your viewing experience? Anything that you liked better on YouTube, or is it easy to just pop into the community and watch live? I think like the biggest difference for me is that um I actually think you could probably see the photos a little bit better because they're more full screen versus like the split screen. And yeah, the only thing I could think about is on YouTube, it might just be like super accessible to people who like use the YouTube app or things like that. Cree says, nope, not very different. Super easy. Cool. Rain, do you still do the stars out of 5? So, Rain, great question. Last week was the first day that I tested out a new way of doing these where I'm not doing star ratings. I'm just doing two things that I like about the photo and then one or two things that I think could be improved. I am getting mixed feedback about the stars. Some people love them because they said that it was a good way to gauge like, okay, are they improving or not? Part of me was feeling like me giving out these stars were starting to feel like very arbitrary, and at the end of the day, to me, like, a star rating doesn't feel like it should matter that much from coming from me, but I'm also getting like the feedback that people like it. So please continue to give feedback. I'm going to do another live stream today of where I'm just giving things I like about a photo and not dislike, but just some improvements. But that's how I'm doing it today. All right, so this was a photo again from Annie. First challenge. Welcome. I like the black and white edit. So one thing I like about it is black and white edit. I think it works a lot for stairs because it just highlights those shapes and it kind of gets rid of any distractions that might have been there with color. And the top down perspective is, I think, nice to see the shape of the stairs. The thing I would probably improve is like putting yourself in a different location. That could be hard. You might be like on a balcony or something where you don't have a lot of room to move. But I feel like this line that's coming from the bottom angle or bottom of the screen, bottom of the photo, that looks like a railing or something. It kind of blocks the view. Also, I feel like the stairs should be the highlight, but there's a lot of distraction. And so, um, I think there's a couple ways to go about this challenge, and one is like putting your stairs like in the forefront, like making them the star of the show. And there, I think my advice would be like try to be in a spot where the composition's a little simpler, maybe cropped in, zoomed in, closer to just the shape of the stairs. There's another route of doing it where the stairs just play a character in the photo. And so we'll see some of those where the stairs are composed nicely, they're there, but it's really like the people on the stairs that are interesting or the leading lines of the stairs that lead your eye to some sort of building or something. Um, but I think just cleaning up the composition here is what I would try to do. Maybe a crop would have done it here, and then also maybe just waiting for a moment, waiting to see if someone starts walking up those stairs and they have an interesting vibe about them, and snapping a photo of them on the stairs could have helped. I hope that that helps, but I don't want to be too critical because it's first challenge. I want to get you back here next week as well. All right, Rosemarie, this looks like a photo that I would have taken. Here's one where I like it because you really are highlighting just like these sort of almost abstract lines and shapes, and you get both the shapes of the steps and like the concrete work, but also the shadow from the railing, which is very nice. And I like the perspective as well of the diagonal lines. Hey, look at that. Phil can like diagonal lines. I think that looks really good here. Um, in terms of advice, I could have maybe just seen what it looks like black and white. There's like barely any color anyways. And if you did it black and white, you might, whether you do black and white or not, maybe pumping up the contrast a little bit might have helped, especially just to get those shadows a little bit darker. Um and maybe I don't know if cropping in or not. I actually like the railing at the top. Cropping that railing out completely could have been an interesting choice, just so it's just all these diagonal lines, the contrast of the shadows broken up by a couple of these leaves that are cool on the ground as well. Um, but I don't know. I actually like it. I think a square crop, like imagine just if this top like third was not there and it was just like this bottom square, that's an interesting photo as well. um Maybe a little more artistic in a sense, but I really like, um I actually really like this photo because it looks like something I would have taken. All right, let's go Spinada and Swami. I saw you posted two photos. David commented, "Thank you for understanding that we only want one photo posted to the challenges so that we can give people equal time, especially during these reviews. If you have other photos for a challenge or something that you weren't like sure, what I've seen some other people do is like post them into the photo critiques or the general chat page, just to get advice on those other photos as well." All right. Two things I love about this photo. One, the cat is there. Without the cat, this photo is like kind of like not very interesting to look at. Um, and I think it's just like part of I think my critique or my advice is going to contradict what I'm going to say right now, but I kind of like that it's just this like day in the life shot of this location. I don't know if this is in your house, in your apartment complex or something like that, but I kind of like that it's you can see a hint of these two slipper sandals here, just like not together on the stair, just like how they end up like most of us. You throw your shoes on the floor and it's just there's just one there and then one there. You see the litter box over here. It's just like kind of a snapshot of what this day, what this place looks like. That being said, probably my advice, best advice for making this a more aesthetically pleasing photo would have been to probably just crop in if you could have got closer to the cat, I think just like cropping this bottom part off, getting rid of this railing, and also over on the right hand side, this back area, because right now it's kind of just a distraction. And so cropping into this one area of, I wish I could like have like an overlay highlight to show you guys what I'm envisioning. That would be like a something I should figure out. But yeah, just having like this top area is very clean look, very minimal, and maybe even moving that sandal away, I think could have looked good. If not, this is great. You could probably still get like instead of getting this bottom rail on here, maybe like somehow tilt up and widen out or get the camera closer to the very bottom of this railing so you still have like the view of the cat, the side, just that day in the life shot. But there's this railing at the bottom is the thing that bugs me the most. All right. And we got a comment from Maria saying, my biggest struggle right now is cropping and editing. Being more intentional sometimes makes me feel like I'm doing too much. That is a good comment. And um, it's just one of those tools that we have as a photographer, though, is like figuring out how to crop after the fact. I'm cropping probably about 50% of my photos, or even more in some little way, to get to what I want. All right, I'm not gonna go over this photo because it's the same person. Let's see. Dragan photo while walking in Rome. Mm, nice. All right, what do you like about this photo? If you haven't commented yet, let me know. All right, three things I like about this photo. Quick. One is I actually dig the contrast. I feel like it's a style that you were going for, and I like it. The colors, the contrast of the gold to the blue. I love the symmetry, and I love that the staircase plays just this bigger role in this scene. And it looks epic because you captured it when a person was on there. It gives you that context of how big these stairs are. Two quick things that I would do with this exact photo to make it better. One is perfect that symmetry with a crop. You can tell that these towers are not perfectly symmetrical. The bottom of the staircase is not perfectly symmetrical. Just cropping out this left side would probably fix that. Um, I feel like in the spot, if you had shifted to the right just a foot or two, probably would have solved that as well, but that could be an easy fix in post. And then I like the color of the sky a lot, but this vignette that you added is a little bit harsh. So I would brighten up that vignette just so you can see the sky. The sky color looks a little unnatural, but this it looks like a filter that I I actually like that color. So in the contrast to the gold of the building. So I would probably soften up that gradient or that vignetting at the top, maybe even bring down the whites in the middle just so you get see a little bit more detail in this part of the image, but otherwise really cool shot. I love it. All right, Idale. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing any of your names correctly. All right, cool contrast in this photo of the stairs versus the escalator. I don't know if that was really on purpose to capture these two things next to each other. It's always nice to have these contrasts, not just aesthetic contrast, but contrast of story in your photos. So having like the physical staircase with the escalator is cool. And I like the shadows. I think my areas for improvement are if you were trying to show the stairs versus the escalator, you're not you're kind of not getting it with the escalator here. It's hard to see, and I actually think that the lighting and stuff in this photo is cool enough just to highlight the stairs. um so I don't know if there was a way to do that. Maybe it's even just cropping in just a little bit, tilting down something just to, again, simplify what's going on in the frame. because all this at the top to me looks kind of distracting. I love the cleanliness of these lines at the bottom of the stairs, the railing, the shininess of the railing, the light and the shadows. I love all that. And I kind of just wish almost I didn't get distracted by that escalator at the top. That being said, that's like again, a cool contrast of those two things, but I think it would have had to be totally framed up from a different perspective. So I think with this photo, maybe even just like cropping in a little bit could help, but um, yeah, or somehow softening up the top, maybe even doing like a maybe here doing like a vignette or like a gradient filter to darken the top part, something just so that we can focus more in on these shapes and lines of the stairs down at the bottom. All right, Cesar Guzman. Let's see this photo. Ooh, fun, fun lighting in this photo. All right, so the things I like about it, the dramatic lighting. I don't know like how it's like that naturally. You got these lights going through or down this staircase along the rail. So I love that. And just again, these stairs play a part in this bigger scene. My one thing that I would probably do is I think there was sort of a missed opportunity with these statues here that could have been really cool silhouettes. And I think if you had been shifted over to the right just a little bit so that the statue, the background was like maybe this part of the wall instead of this shadow, you could have seen that form, that silhouette a little bit more, and you still would have had a very similar framing. Um, I don't know about this one on the right. Maybe you wouldn't be able to see that one either, because at that point you're getting a little bit too far away from this angle, which is nice for these stairs. Um, but yeah, I think the highlight of this photo is like this center part. And this left part, I don't really need. So again, I think just cropping that out a little bit. You could even do like a portrait crop of this center part might be interesting. But love the contrast, the lighting, very cool capture. All right, Nita. Also, I saw your comment. I might comment. Caesar, I think it was Caesar who had a suggestion. And if anyone has suggestions, I am happy to receive suggestions for making sure that frame by frame can be sustainable as we get more and more members in the community, more people posting. Um, I think the suggestion was maybe breaking up the critiques over time, doing a few every day. I don't think I could do like a frame by frame every day. That would be more work for me, but I have thought about potentially doing just feedback throughout the week on the photos via maybe video or just text or voice memos. And then just during frame by frame, highlighting maybe some of the top photos. I want to be able to give feedback to people who are really, starting out and wanting and needing that feedback, and not just making frame by frame a place where we're celebrating only the best photos, because those are the people that don't need the help as much. But we will see. Right now, so far, frame by frame is still feeling pretty sustainable, but we'll see as more people join. All right, Nita. And on that note, I might have something that I share at the start of next week's live stream that I will want your feedback on. So stay tuned for that during next week's live stream. Some sort of new format or feature within the community that will help make it more sustainable in the long run and more beneficial to you as well. All right, Nita. Mobile phone. Mm. Two things I love: the framing, frame within the frame, and the edit. I like the contrast. I think the only thing that I would say Improvement wise, hmm. I mean, the lines are pretty straight. I don't know, maybe crouching down and tilting up a little bit would have like made the stairs look a little more epic. Maybe bringing down the whites just a little bit because all the information on these walls out here are totally overexposed, and having bringing those whites down just a tiny bit just so we get a little bit of texture. But I actually just really like this photo. Um yeah, I think there's a little bit of imperfection in the symmetry with like this left hand gate and this right hand gate. Um, but that could probably be improved with a little bit of a transform. If you use Lightroom, it's the transform tool of making these lines straight or just cropping in from the left just a tiny bit. Um, Otherwise, really good shot. Barbara mentioned, yes, please. We skipped over my first two challenges. Are you talking about the ones at the end of the last year or that I haven't gone over yet? Let me know. All right, let's go. George Bertram, stairs, MacGyver style. George, I saw this post. I think what I like about this photo is again, it's just like an ordinary everyday sort of photo of like just the scene, and I like that type of photography. My area for improvement is I think there could have been a way to highlight the stairs in a bit more of a creative composition. Maybe that's getting the camera down low, closer to the stairs, rather than just this like top from eye level view. Maybe going perfectly perpendicular to the wall so that you just see like the stairs cut out and it's like this straight flat image. Even maybe even more up pointed from a higher angle, top down, looking at these. But I think just like this view is not that compositionally pleasing or interesting to me anyways. So just changing up the perspective I think is what would help your photography for this subject the most. I think just getting close and being able to see those textures would have been interesting. All right, we've got Very with this really cool multi exposure photo, and as always, it's so creative. It's hard to critique because it's so different. The things I love about it is like just again the framing that you're able to capture in your double exposure with this sort of highlighted silhouette and just the abstract shapes of all these stairs that you're getting. I think my one critique is that the stairs are a little bit hard to see, and so, if there was a way in the multiple exposure to be able to see the photos or the stairs a little bit better, um, for this particular challenge, I think would have been helpful because I don't think like people look at this and say that's a staircase, but still, it's the colors are lovely, and seeing this like printed on like a metallic metal. I have like one over here. This is like a metal print. It's a cool style of photography or printing. Something like this would look really cool because you get like a little bit of a shine on there and it would really lend itself to printing this photo. Yes, Barbara, one color and quiet moments. Yes, I miss those. I don't I'm not sure if I'm going to get back to them. Maybe if I have like a slow week during one of these challenges, but yeah, it's about being sustainable for myself and respecting my time, and I took off a couple weeks to be with my family over the holidays. So I'm trying to catch up, and I'm sorry if I don't get to those. I would love to, but I can't make any promises. All right, let's see. Rain. This is a cool photo. I love the perspective. So one thing I love is the perspective, and then that color, the colors that you get from the ocean, the plants, the rock. And then the third thing is the people there. giving context to the size of things, the space, and just it adds another element that keeps me as the viewer engaged in this photo. I think my only maybe piece of advice would have been a slight adjustment of the composition. I think I love like the part of the stair starting about here where you like start to go down. This platform at the bottom left, oh, I just see something interesting. Why does this say AI generated content at the bottom left? Well, that changes things. Rain, I would like an explanation. What is going on? Because this photo, it looks really real. But I do see this watermark that says that. So I'm curious what that means. Because gosh, AI, it's crazy. If this is like a real photo, then great. If this is AI generated, then dang, tricked me. I don't know how to continue this critique because I don't want to AI generated images. It's a totally different subject topic. It has a time and place, but not in the community and not definitely not for these photo weekly challenges. So, oh, Rain, you are here. The photo is real. I just removed trash on the okay. Got it. And that's something I think there's definitely a place to use these tools to um, remove distractions in a sense. There's a boundary there, blurry line of what feels honest and what feels over. But okay, that is a good enough explanation for me. I think, but my slight change in composition that I was going to say is that I feel like I this platform right here feels like a little close to the frame and I don't care for it. Whereas like the stairs here, I really like. And then these people, I really like being down there as well. But this one looks so close to the edge of the frame that I just want a little bit more space. I think if it was almost rotated just a little bit clockwise or just shifted to the right somehow or something because I also like these rocks. It's one of those instances where you just kind of have to be there and play around with it. Um, but somehow losing this part of the staircase and giving a little more room for the people in the background, I think would have been very helpful. Um, but otherwise, I love the colors and the balance of this photo as well, and the perspective looking down. All right, Sharath B. Stairs that motivates you to take them rather than an escalator. That's awesome. Oh. That's very creative. Cool. Well, one, I like the storytelling, and I like just it's a clean perspective looking up. I think my advice, much of my advice is always compositional, just little tweaks here and there. One, maybe there was a way to compose using this reflection in a cool way. So putting that your camera right next to this left glass or wall, it looks like just like a shiny tile wall, kind of would have been cool. Or maybe like I don't know, centering to the bottom sign right here, something so that you're like perfectly centered with like these blue signs going up the middle rather than it's kind of tilted going to the side. Little adjustment there, but I like the storytelling of this photo. Great job. Ooh, this is cool. John Flandes, moody geometric layers of a stairwell. Nice. That is very cool. Very moody. So one, I love the moodiness, the moody vibe, the lighting. And then two, I like the framing, very clean framing within like it's almost like frame within a frame. Um, and then yeah, the person here being there is interesting. I think my only critique maybe I see like the person being there is very like centered, which you might have been going for. Maybe if their face was like in a spot that wasn't being cut off by one of these lines, that might have been nice to see. But I can tell from this perspective that would have been pretty hard. So I honestly don't have a lot of critique, maybe a little noise reduction, just because I'm starting to see but a bunch of digital noise in there, probably from a high ISO. But that's just natural when you're shooting something that's pretty dark like this. So honestly, I just kind of dig this photo. So good job. We have a question, Rain. Here's the photo. Oh, let's see. Here's a photo with the trash on the rocks. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay, so you can see that in the comments if you are watching this live, Rain's original photo. That is such an interesting question of like, do you remove that or not? It tells a different story to have that trash there. And Nita has a question of, uh, does using AI to remove one or some objects from a photo count as making the photo AI generated? I think this is just going to be a debate that photographers have. There's no right answer. And I think there's definitely a time and place for removing objects and using those tools. There's also going to be the purist argument, which is always or to never do that. So I don't have the answer. I'm curious what you think the answer is, and not to put Rain on the spot, but I'm curious what people think is if if you should have left the trash on those rocks or remove them. Um, I think the photo is better without it. It's like nice to know, but having the trash on the rocks, is that real? And is that important to capture that? I don't know. There's gonna be arguments on both sides, and I don't have the answer. I don't have the right answer. But I think in terms like technically for like doing these challenges and stuff, removing an object here or there, I think is totally fine. I would be very sad if people started posting photos that were just completely generated by an AI tool. That would be very sad to me. All right, cool. Let's bring up this next one while you guys comment about all that. Uh, all right. So, what do I like about this? I like that we actually have color. I think the color, as you can see here, it means there's more distractions. It's not as clean of a photo as like if you made this black and white and you kind of lose the distracting colors. Our eyes would have more like clarity on what to look at, meaning these stairs. But I think for this case, it makes sense to have the colors because you have all these interesting colors and this fallish sort of vibe of this forest. So I like the colors. I like the symmetry as well. And in terms of a critique, I don't know if I have much. I think if you wanted to highlight the stairs a little bit more, you probably could have like maybe change your focus so that you have a shallower focus on just the stairs with the background still having the color and the cool trees, but not being in focus. That might have looked nice. Um, but otherwise like really good symmetry and lots of cool textures here. I think the main thing for me is the top half, the trees are a bit distracting, so somehow to reduce that distraction, whether that's in camera while you're photographing this, having a shallower depth of field focused on the stairs in the foreground, or even in post like doing some sort of like a little subtle blurring and I don't know, not a vignette darkening, but you could play around with that. And then this brings, this goes back to what we were talking about before. Like we have all these tools now that you can like blur photos. You can create really nice shallow depth of field and change how the bokeh looks in Lightroom to whatever your desire is. Is that real? Is that good? Is that any worse or better than just posting an AI generated photo or removing something with I don't know. That debate will continue. All right, here's another stair photo, we got Diana. Nice. Lovely black and white use of black and white, a nice perspective looking down. Very clean, pretty symmetrical, and I like it. I think maybe my only suggestion, you might have been able to like rotate this and not have this be a portrait, but like a landscape photo with the left side. If you rotated it counterclockwise, it kind of could feel more balanced, like if you were standing there about to go down the stairs. But I I don't know. I think this is a nice portrait edit as well, or portrait composition. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good photo. I don't know if there's really much more you could do with this photo. Maybe if there was even more stairs or getting higher and zooming in just to crush that distance, might be cool. Yeah, otherwise, I don't really have much critique for that one. All right, Todd posting this photo of snowy stairs leading up to this very cool building. Looks like a library, but looks like a castle. Nice. I'm starting to sound a little bit repetitive, but I like the black and white edit. This one, the softer contrast is actually kind of nice. I kind of like how everything like fades into white in the sky, the snow as well. Um, I think my only like suggestion would be like maybe you could have highlighted the stairs a little bit more by either being putting the camera right at the bottom of the staircase but still wide, super wide lens so that you see the full building, but you're sort of at that perspective at the bottom of the staircase. um Maybe, like, just moving to the left a little bit, even if you're not, like, right at the bottom of the staircase, but, like, if you were to the left a little bit and you could see, like, the bottom step or the bottom steps of the staircase, that I think that just would have been nice. It's that story of, like, about to step up these steps. Um, I think that kind of would have been a cool perspective, or angle to be photographing at. Just, like, seeing, yeah, I see these 2 pillars here. I don't know how that would change what it looks like to for the building, but I think just being in front of the stairs might have been really cool for this photo. Nice soft edit, snowy vibe, very cool. Anya, this is a photo on stairs of a couple, which is the first one we've really seen where the stairs just play the background. And I think the cleanliness of like the staircase creating this texture in the back is nice, so really good job there. And decent like posing and composition of a couple. I don't know how long you've been taking photos, but this is like one of your first time in a dark setting with weak lighting. Yeah. So I think it did come out pretty good. It's a little soft. I think the white balance is a little off. The skin tones are a little off. So you could probably fix that up just slightly. It's got like a sort of an orangish, yellowish tone. Unless, I mean, actually, the skin tones look pretty good. It's maybe just the background. I don't know. There's something that feels a little bit too like yellowy. Um, but that's a hard photo in low light. So I think you did a pretty good job. Maybe like having a soft uh, flash box shooting from top left to add some more light on the subject. Just subtle might help. Um, yeah, but I liked the use of the staircase as the background. Phyllis Fox found these steps this morning. I love when people take new photos for the challenges. That's awesome. All right, I love the staircase. I love just like the reality of what these stairs look like. There's these cool mural or gosh, what's that called? Um, where you got the tiles. Some is broken. You got these weeds or the grass kind of peeking in, growing. So I like that. It says the love steps. Love steps? Is that what it is? So I love that. I love seeing the color in this photo. My advice would be to crop it in to make it symmetrical. You can tell that there's like more space on the right side of these stairs than the left. So make that symmetrical. Maybe it would have helped to be have like a perfect like a portrait crop or to shoot portrait. And since the stairs are really the highlight, I would just try to fill the frame with these steps, whether that's getting down lower with the camera so that the top part of the steps really could be a little bit higher in the frame. You could just crop this, but I think having the camera down a little lower could have been interesting. But really just focus on the cool textures of the stairs, make it symmetrical, may boost the exposure a little bit. It's a little dark in some places, just need a little bit more light. And I think this would be a cool spot to go try to take those photos again. Since you sounds like it was just on a morning walk. So maybe try that. All right, Paul. Ooh, another. The wife looks determined that Scooby is not going to pull her down the steps. Nice. Nice capture of stairs. I love the story, the moment of the dog about to walk down the stairs wondering, what are you doing, dad? What are you doing?" And I like yeah, I just like that. The lighting on the pup is good and it almost just this framing or perspective creates this nice sort of framing within a frame of your wife and the dog. So that's yeah, really nice composition, I would say. Um, advice, I actually yeah, I think just like the perspective, the placement of the camera is very nice, the lighting's not bad. I think maybe if it would just look a little bit more natural if your wife was like in the middle, about to walk down or something, rather than just like kind of standing there holding the dog's leash. So maybe like story wise, it could have been a little bit more interesting just to see them like starting to walk, or at least have her like standing in the middle, a little bit more relaxed or something if possible. The dog's you can't control what the dog's doing, but the dog's positioning is nice. Um, but yeah, and there's the red jacket makes her pop from the background, which is nice, but it is a distraction from the pup. So that just that's just how it is. That's what they were wearing. But if I were to like want like a perfectly clean image, maybe even just like having the dog there by themselves at the top step would have been interesting. If that could have been possible too. But this is a great spot for portraits too, like family portraits. Sit on those steps. I don't know. I think the vibe is kind of cool. All right, Koshala. Every step carries what we leave behind. Very profound. Nice. Things I like. I like the leading lines of the staircase on both sides. I like the contrast and I like the color edits. So I could tell you probably brought back down the saturation for a lot of colors except for the gold of the leaves. And I really, really like that. Only sort of room for improvement. Again, it's like these are moments where you're standing there and it's almost perfectly symmetrical, but it's not quite. And I feel like just having it be perfectly symmetrical would be nice. You could tell because see this step right here in the middle, the right side is being cropped out it, and the left side you see the wall. So if you just cropped the left side just a little bit or cropped up or framed it up in person, um, just pay attention to that to get it perfectly symmetrical. I think the leading lines would be better, more profound. but otherwise, really cool edit. And I like the color in the leaves that you get here. I think without the color in the leaves, this photo wouldn't have been as interesting. So very cool job. All right, Thomas Bebenstein, Germany. Ooh, this looks like a photo from like the 1950s or something or 40s. All right, what do I like about this photo? Well, I obviously love there's a cat in it. I don't have a cat in my office right now. I have a big fluffy dog right there. So I love that. The black and white edit is very cool. Um, and it's a clean composition. If I would guess, and you could let me know in the comments, did you crop this photo in? Because I think the crop is nice because it frames up your subject, which is the cat on these stairs, which I think is like a nice subtle way to use stairs for this challenge. But the sizing of the cat is nice in the frame. It takes up enough space to like really be profound and visible. Um, and I don't know if you cropped out any distractions or maybe you just framed it up with your lens. It looks like you either used like a zoom lens or you cropped. Um, it's just a very nice, pleasing sort of composition. My my only critique, my only critique is maybe it's the upload, but the quality looks a little low. I don't know if that's because the resolution is low, and I'm looking at a bigger monitor. Oh, taken on 100. Oh, this is taken on film. Okay, so that is cool. So Thomas chatted that this is on 135 millimeter film. So props and kudos to that. That's probably why it just looks so authentically like old school because it was shot on film. And if that's the case, you get like this natural grain and in the photo and it's slightly soft. So like the textures in the cat aren't super clear and sharp, but it's that aesthetic of film that results in that. So but I think like that's my one critique is that like the textures on the cat's face, it's a little dark, yet kind of overexposed and blending into the background. Like if there was any way to make the cat like clearer. Oh, 135 millimeter lens. Grain comes from. Oh, I see. Oh, got it. Not on film. Maybe it's a bit much grain. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe sharpening up the cat just a little bit. Even if it was just a mask on the cat and the rest of it had the grain, I think would have been a cool vibe. Um, yeah, I would love to see like a series of photos like this around town. Nice, clean composition. I like it. Hong Wang posted this photo that I had seen when I was scrolling through. Love this photo. What I love about it is you found a staircase that is just so interesting to look at. It's shot from a perspective of being kind of far away, probably zoomed in though, so that it crushes the space and you can see from the size of the people, which I also think is awesome to have in the photo. You just get that perspective of wow, these stairs are really big. It's one of those photos that you just look at and you could blow this up, print it out, and you could just see all the interactions, all the moments being very interesting. I think my thought to improve it maybe like balance out the exposures a little bit on the stairs if you could. Like there's a center part that seems a little overexposed, but then on the right hand side, it's a little bit darker. And of course, you get more into the shadow at the top. But I think it would have been cool to try to really just balance the exposures in the middle on the stairs so that the center parts, there's nothing that's too overexposed and then maybe boosting the shadows a little bit just to get a little more info and be able to see the people at the top and basically balancing everything to this general exposure of this staircase maybe a touch brighter So you're not losing things in the shadow. A lot of that, if this is a raw photo, you could probably edit it and get it to be pretty close. But otherwise, what a very cool photo. Oh, you re-edited. Nice. Okay, cool. Interesting. I like the edit here. Colors pop, contrast. I think you still lose a little bit of detail in the middle with some overexposure, but overall, I think really cool photo, dude. Very cool. Love it. All right, Andrea. Tight fit, narrow wooden staircase. Nice. Okay, cool textures here. I like that. I like the clean framing of the stairs, spiral stairs going down. Advice? Mm, I don't know what you all think. If you want to see the wall here, it does give it a little context of like where this is, what type of building you might be in. At the same time, I could see cropping it completely into the staircase just to have this cool textured spiral, really upping the contrast a little bit and bumping up the sharpness or the texture or clarity to get that the grain of the wood. Um, Even with this framing doing that, like bumping up the sharpness, the clarity, texture, something to really highlight that wood grain, maybe bringing up the exposure on the left hand side and warming it up a bit to match the warm tones of this part of the staircase that might have had more light shining on it. Something like that could have helped in editing. So yeah. All right, Barbara. Here we go. Staircase. This looks very similar to my childhood going up the playgrounds. My childhood and my adulthood. I find myself climbing playground stairs quite often. All right. What do I like about it? I like that it's an interesting stair that you found. We haven't seen anyone else with stairs that look like this. And that perspective of being at the bottom of the step looking up is pretty cool, and you got the symmetry pretty close. I think what I don't like, not that I don't like, but I think an improvement would have been, again, symmetry is off slightly. You can tell by the way that the railing is on the left side of the slide opening up here, or I think that's probably a slide. You see this railing over here. You don't see that railing, so it's probably shifting to the left just slightly. Um, and usually, sometimes these staircases and these structures aren't symmetrical, so maybe that's why it's not symmetrical. But that might have been able to help. Um, I kind of want this front step to either be in focus because it takes up so much of the frame. It's taking like a third, almost a third of the frame. Or if your camera was like up a little bit or closer to this next step, so which is in focus. Um, and maybe that's just a cropping thing. Just crop off the bottom little part of this so that you feel closer to what is in focus could have helped. Um, and maybe bringing the camera up so that you can see, like, you would still see the stairs at the bottom. It wouldn't be exactly the photo you were trying to achieve here, where you're like close to the stairs and you're looking up, but just being able to see through the opening here of the slide, I think could have been cool too. Yeah, I don't know, something to play around with. Um, but I like this texture of these playground stairs is very cool. Cool idea. All right, Benjusu. It is taken from my phone. This is the first picture that I captured during my first university year. Nice. Cool colors. Fall vibe. I like that. Symmetry almost there. So you know what my advice is going to be for this. I think crop it in, get that symmetrical. I probably would have I can see why you would take the photo from here and not like gone closer because you want to see the bottom of this part of the staircase. But I actually, for like just a symmetrical photo, I don't like this light post on the left. And so going up like to the top of these stairs or like 3 stairs up and just photographing down the center of the staircase right here with the trees on both sides would have created a cool frame within a frame. I see people walking back there, so that might have been cool, but also could have got like more symmetry without this light post there just to have a cleaner shot. But at the very least, like straightening out these lines if possible of like the light post, which you can do in post. In person, you might not have been able to get that with a photo with a camera, phone camera, because you'd have to be a little bit further away. Because it's natural when you're looking up at a post like this, you're not going to get a straight line. Um, so that might have been helpful. But again, it's just these little tweaks that you could probably do in editing to get these stairs to be perfectly symmetrical that would make this photo, I think, a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. All right, Colette. Wow, very similar in a sense. I love the perspective being super close to the railing. The lighting is very cool, so nice mood. And of course, great job waiting for a person to walk by. Um, very, oh, I'm just reading the comments. Barbara says, I have a broken foot and couldn't move around very well. Wow, that is the best excuse. But yes, back to this photo. Lovely moment with the person there. Without the person there, you lose a lot. So great job. This is one where I actually think there's so much darkness and your eye is drawn to what's right in this part of the frame where the railing that's out of focus right here doesn't bother me as much because my eye is drawn to this area and the rest is just dark and out of focus and not a distraction. So I don't mind this being out of focus. Um, Nice vignetting. I can tell you probably added a bit of a vignette. So yeah, I don't know if I have any critique of this because it's a very cool photo. I very much dig it. So good job. All right, Amber Wat Arun in Bangkok, Thailand. Ooh, cool. Nice choice of a staircase to post for this challenge. Nice symmetry. Like pretty much perfectly symmetrical. So, really good job. I like seeing the color in this photo as well. Black and white, you would have lost a lot of like the cool details you see here. Slight, I think it's not even that the photo is not symmetrical, but it's just that this staircase at the bottom, it's not perfectly level. So I would maybe just crop out this bottom stair so that the first stair at the bottom is this one right here, so that that one's perfectly level to the edge of the frame. And otherwise, I think solid photo. Maybe like you could have been like 6 inches to the left, and it would have been a little bit more symmetrical, but it's pretty darn close. I'm counting these towers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's slightly off, but no one else is going to notice that. Nice photo. Thank you for sharing. Mubin, moving forward. Ooh, this is fun. This is a really cool photo. Uh, Gosh, I like this photo. I love the black and white. I love the lighting. I love the moment of the people in this frame within a frame of the stairs. Only thing I would do, I probably would have just cropped in just a tiny bit to get rid of this little railing in the bottom left. Would have cleaned up the composition just a tiny bit. Um, but otherwise, I think this is really great photo. So yeah, good job. Love it. And Celeste, we got this photo. it's it's just funny going from, like, a real photo of real people to Legos. I love the lighting on it. Nice, creative use of the Lego on this staircase. I don't know if this is in, like, a dollhouse or something, but you got some really cool lighting here with, like, the window frame in the shadows there. That's very nice. Um, Nice focus on the Lego character, and you, like, get this nice fall off of the staircase in the back and the front. Yeah, really good. I don't know, maybe I would crop out this door frame on the right-hand side, just cut it in just a little bit, but I don't know. I don't mind it. Yeah, it's just a cool photo. So no real critiques on how to make this one better. It's for what it is, it's nice. And I think the black and white looks really good. The lighting is very nice, shining right on your little Lego there. Looks fancy. Cree is the entrance into the burial place of Ramses. Wow, that's cool. And the edit, the lighting lends it lends itself to how making this feel so cool. So love the edit, love the lighting, love the color that you get here. And it's not a symmetrical photo, so I think that's totally fine. I actually like being able to see these carvings in the wall, kind of repeating this way. I think you might have been able to go a little even more at an angle, just a slight angle, or maybe like tilted up or something, just to get this full lighted doorway at the top of the stairs. Um, Maybe like getting down a little bit and looking up would have made the stairs feel more like you're going into the light, more epic, rather than like at eye level, but then you don't get the cleanliness of this carving, on the left-hand side at that eye level, which I kinda like, so but maybe it's just like a if you're here, you put your camera down and tilt up just slightly, would have been kinda cool, but otherwise, great choice for the staircase weekly challenge. Alright, we got Suzanne here with this storytelling photo. Alice Cooper's assistant who waits invisibly behind the stairs during the show, holding the tailcoat and hat for Alice. I love that storytelling. Probably wouldn't get that without the text. But I like seeing the stairs. I think the black and white is cool. Um I think if you wanted to highlight, like, that person, obviously, it's hard. You probably couldn't move that much, but, like, just being straight on with, like, this set of stairs and this person silhouetted would be cool. Um, Otherwise, I think, like, the thing that would make this photo better is if we saw Alice Cooper or the band, like, a little bit clearer on the stage. Like, I don't know if this is, like did you say this is before or in the middle of the show, like waiting or something. Um, that might have been cool, but it's a cool staircase. Almost widening out might have been cool, so we could see this staircase as well. Um, yeah, it's almost like I want to be tighter in on the staircase or even wider just to see the whole scene a little bit better. But I like the text and the story, and sometimes it's nice to have text along with a photo to understand the story, and it's necessary. And I want more people to be putting out their work in that way, whether it's through a photo blog where you're posting photos like we used to back in the good old days, or sharing the story on even if you're just posting to social media or something. I think is something we need to do more of. Janet, icy stairs, Niagara Falls during the polar vortex. I love the shapes. It's a very cool shape of like this building. These stairs. Where is this? It looks like it's it's in the Niagara Falls. I don't in Ontario. I have been on the American side. I really dig the architecture here. I kind of wish the stairs were somehow like highlighted a little bit better. I like the black and white. And this building is cool. It's just kind of like blocked by this railing. So I almost wish you could have been at a different perspective, maybe even higher. That might not be possible where you're photographing straight on more with this building, but then also like the staircase just like cuts across the bottom of the frame. For this photo, I think because it's slightly tilted, this railing, the window here, it everything feels a little tilty, and that's just because you're photographing up at it. But if there was a way to just like straighten out those lines, I think it would have felt a bit cleaner of a composition. Yeah, but I like the black and white and looks cold. All right, Kaylin. Kaylin, this photo went for a walk, looking for stairs. Love it. Good job getting out. Love the lighting on the staircase. Yeah, nice. Nice textures. I love the textures and the contrast of the rock wall to the metal railing. So love that. The perspective is nice looking up kind of into the shadows, but then you also have this light coming through. I think the only things that I would do to maybe improve this photo is like play around with the exposures a little bit and with some masking. Like the rocks here on the left are a little overexposed, so bringing down those exposures just a little bit kind of would have been cool. Bringing up the exposures of the shadowy area just a little bit. Maybe even just like these bottom steps, not all of them, kind of would have been cool. Um, yeah, I love like the shape of the railing actually here against the background of this wall. So maybe even it's cropping in and losing a little bit of this left hand side and the bottom, but just cropping in. So you're just on like seeing the stairs with the silhouetted railing with this really cool texture. A little bit of the plants overhead might have been, might be a cool crop and edit too. Thank you for getting out there and taking photos this week. And that's it. I posted my stairs that I got. I wasn't really going for stairs, but I was in a 10-minute photo dash challenge for buildings and architecture. And I saw this cool building with not so cool stairs, but just thought like the lines and shadows and contrast of the window frame and the stairs looked kind of cool going across it as well. So that was my submission. And I was glad that I got one today or this week for this weekly challenge. Next week we've got another challenge, and that was it. We got through it, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed this one. Next week's challenge that we'll be going through, if my internet works, is Essence of Hope. Intriguing, intriguing. So get your photos in by the end of the week, and I'll be back here. I should be back at the same time for frame by frame. If anything changes, I'll let you know, but you'll see a live session pop up in here. Thank you. If you haven't done so yet, in the announcements, I posted a question. What do you love about photography and friends? I might be using some of the quotes for the new landing page that I'm working on for people who join Photography and Friends, so people know what to get, what they're gonna get in this amazing community that we have here. And then also stay tuned. Like I said last week or next week, I might be sharing something. I'm just clicking through. There's so many cool posts here. Lots of good bird photography too that I've been seeing pop up in the gallery. But next week, I might share something at the start that I want some feedback on. Just an idea that, yeah, stay tuned. I'll let you know. Otherwise, I am working on a workshop, just a little tease. I'm working on a workshop all about um, getting unstuck as a photographer and finding inspiration in your backyard. Now, you here might not get a ton from it because I'm going to be talking a lot about doing like weekly challenges and things, but this is a workshop that I'm going to be doing with Creative Live, which is a really cool platform. They do a lot of photography training, and that's going to come up in March. So stay tuned for that as well. I'll be letting you all know when I have a date for that. And yeah. Anyways, I will see you next week. Until then, keep your eye out for Essence of Hope. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. If you have any comments about how the live went today, thoughts, feedback, send me a DM on Photo Friends, and I would love to hear your thoughts. All right, everyone. Have a great week. I'll see you next time. Bye.